Well, we left our homes up in Bristol Bay for the waters of Miami shore. With a hippo at the helm and our severance pay, we fly the pirate flag once more. Pirate radio with the ship and crew, we get wind in our sails and the sky is blue. There's a devil up our nose, so much work to do. Pirate radio. Well, the ship is a wreck, shit stains the deck as Michael hollers fellas make more. And Billy is a worry that he's got the scurvy, cause Chris ate all the limes in store. Pirate radio with the ship and crew, we get wind in our sails and the sky is blue. There's a devil up our nose, so much work to do. Pirate radio. Now Roy is a chum when he's on the rum, he's the glue when we spring a leak. And Stu is a mess, he does less and less, and Greg sounded worse each week. Pirate radio with the ship and crew, we get wind in our sails and the sky is blue. There's a devil up our nose, so much work to do. Pirate radio. Someone yelled ahoy, who the hell's cabin boy? Somebody named Tony, who knows? Once we got the skip, well, a mean jump ship, cause he knew we would sail to gold. Pirate radio with the ship and crew, we get wind in our sails and the sky is blue. There's a devil up our nose, so much work to do for the pirate radio.
This feels suspiciously like we have our sea legs. I don't want to get cocky here. The last few months have been crazy, but there are microphones that are working. The crew has never sounded so clean. Roy now has the worst microphone. We've got some professionalism that has...
I don't know about that, Dan.
Scooted here. You sound worse. Go ahead, Billy. I just heard Billy eat all of his breakfast. I heard all the clacking. We all heard butter being put on the toast. Yeah, like Billy is unbelievably clear. Apparently he's been doing this throughout the pandemic, and we can never hear it. Now we can hear every morsel going into Billy's face. Chris is trying to get in the stock market because he thinks GameStop is the future. I don't know what to do. That's unbelievable. This oaf hitting the stock market.
Dangerous game, day trading, man.
And Stugotz is going to try and get in the Zoom here and probably not be muted on time because he didn't get here on time, but he's got stuff going on at home. He will share with you what he wishes to share and what he doesn't wish to share. I don't know because we haven't had a pre-show meeting or a hello. He just sauntered in here smelling like heaters. And we're on Twitch television now. The Pirate Radio Show seems to have Pirate Television sea leg.
I'm not sure Twitch is referred to as television.
But it is. I mean, we're simulcasting it.
It's visual.
Okay, so what should I call Twitch?
Well, you're doing the thing
call Twitch.
Yeah, you're doing the thing where you call a podcast a radio show, and now with Twitch a television show. But it's understandable. You're older.
Well, it's not just that I'm older. It's also the show's going to be a little bit different today.
There's a camera in my face.
You
what the hell is this thing?
I mean, you hit the camera that's on me right now. I think you just knocked it sideways.
Sorry.
So Stugotz is coming in here, braving it out. We have become, I think people have realized this, although I want to talk to the audience directly on something here because we're trying out this Twitch thing that's not television. Our segments are going to be different because there aren't going to be any pauses. It's just going to be one 30 or 40-minute segment after another for 4 segments as we figure out with the simulcast rhythms of this what we want to do with free agency, whether we want cameras around, whether we want to do live radio, whether we want to do podcasts. We want to test all of this with you, for you, get your opinions. I love how interactive the community is here. I love how often it feels like family. For example, that song, that pirate song, some of you hate it. We love it. I believe we love it. It's ridiculous and silly, but a listener just decided to go home and be inspired. It's one of the reasons that we love this stuff. You guys get something, get an idea, and go create something. And next thing you know, it's the intro to our local hour. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But we love the spirit of all of that. What are you doing, Mike? You got a jacket on today because we're not on television. We're on Twitch.
I got a jacket on today because I am rolling in dough thanks to my great advice from Chris Cody in the Stonks group chat. Yesterday, Dan, was a big day. Now, my retirement is shit, but I hedged a little bit with the fun day trading, and there's nothing quite like investing in a fledgling company.
All right, so you guys help me out on what happened yesterday, all of you, because Chris got in the game. Billy, you're too scared for the stock market, correct? The stock market is something that causes you great fear and panic. It's not something that you view as fun, right?
No, Fun? No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Sell now, by the way, Chris. I'm telling you right now. You're saying, I'm going to hold up. Sell now. Sell now. I'm telling you.
Hold.
I am scared. I'm scared.
Well,
I
hold
kind
on.
of
Can I
want to
explain
sell.
it to
Have
the
you
audience?
been to a GameStop? Have you been to a GameStop? I went there for Christmas shopping, right? I spent 40 minutes walking around GameStop, looking at all the things. I picked out a game. I said, oh, great. This is going to be perfect for my wife's little cousin. He's going to love this game. I go to the register. Like, we don't have that game. I'm like, I'm holding the box. They're like, no, we don't have the game. So I put it back. So then I walked around for another 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'll take this game. I'm like, no, we don't have that game either. You can go 20 miles down the road. They have it there. They have one copy. Maybe you can get it. I was like, I'm done with GameStop for today.
Billy, this has nothing to do with people actually shopping at GameStop.
Okay, well, I'd like to explain that, but Billy got to rolling. I put both my hands up. Everyone saw it on Twitch that's not television, and he rolled right through the stop sign. If you've ever seen Billy, he does not pay attention to third base coaches. And if you're watching on Twitch, you just saw the thing that we all stop for, the universal symbol of trying to talk to each other without using words. Stugotz puts up his pinky. It means everyone he wants the ball, get out of the way.
It does, but I'm telling you guys, because I've been down this road, that day trading is a dangerous game. Chris, you have no idea what you're doing. You're relying on a bunch of people you don't know. If they sell that stock tanks, you lose all your money, and it goes quickly. Dangerous game.
But yesterday was so much fun.
All right, but just pause so that I can explain this to the people like Billy who might not be financially savvy.
Sell on GameStop. It's horrible. Unless they want to sponsor us.
Are you still eating, dude? Are you still eating breakfast that we can hear at your every microphone move?
Most important meal of the day.
Billy, feel free to help us here somewhere.
Oh, he's eating.
Who's giving Chris advice?
Yeah, it's telling everyone what GameStop is
Okay,
also.
I need to tell the audience. You want to explain the story to them? You know what, Billy? You go ahead and explain what happened in the stock market yesterday. Since you want to be the anarchist and you want to get in the way of me setting up the show, you please explain to the audience, those who are not in finance, please explain to them what happened yesterday with Reddit, with hedge funds, and with GameStop.
Well, so there's a thing called short sales, right? So what happens is a company buys all of these things, and then they basically rent it out to people, hoping that when they return it, it's worth a lot less, and then they make money. So this Reddit community all got together, and they found all of these stocks that were short sold, and they're like, you know what, let's buy up a bunch of them, and then we're going to make it go really high, and then when we have to sell it back, we're going to make all this money, and all these hedge funds are going to lose all this money. So they organized on Reddit, and they picked out all these different stocks, and they're like, you know what, AMC, GameStop, BlackBerry, these are all stocks we're going to go for, and we're going to kind of cash in, and we're going to take advantage of this situation that we've found. So that's what's going on right now.
What a setup.
That really blew up in my face. Good Lord, it's better than I could have done it.
You're not going to me on that.
Holy shit. That was
dangerous game, though.
The most dangerous of
games. I haven't been this surprised since you won in a sprint outside and turned into Thor. Like, all of a sudden, you were talking hedge funds in the most confident way I've ever heard you speak. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Hey, he turned into Gordon Gekko.
It was unbelievable. You became somebody who not only was great at stocks, but somebody inexplicably great at radio broadcasting.
This is a bigger upset for me, quite honestly.
I can't believe what just happened. All right, so Chris, the oaf, tries to get in this game, and I love Chris as the stock market guy. So let's explain what we've got going on here. Stugotz is a legitimate stock guy, right? He knows what he's talking about when it comes to stocks, correct?
I do. Yeah, I have experience. I mean, I've been telling Roy about stocks that I've been buying and trading, day trading. He used to do it during the show. Going back like 15 years. So, yeah, I have experience with it. I'm telling these guys, I'm trying to tell them, because I love them, that it is a dangerous game. You could lose your money, okay? I know it feels good now. You're on a high. You're winning a lot of money.
Shut up, Dad. Hold the line. Diamond strong hands.
You're right.
Diamond strong hands.
No, you're right. I did not want to be told this by my dad or my brother, because they were trying to tell me the same thing 15 years ago, and I got mad at them.
We're
going
to make a movie theater the biggest company in the world.
Mike said yesterday, he texted out of nowhere, I own 70% of AMC theaters, and I thought it's just because he was the one guy in the theater in Tenet that he paid what did you pay $2 for those tickets?
So there's all sorts of confusion in the stunk chat right now as to whether or not we should sell Nokia, because that's going to be the next AMC. AMC was the next GameStop. but I can't sell Nokia because I'm pretty sure I'm chairman of the board right now, and I'm actively planning our next company retreat.
It seems like you could own AMC theaters for cheaper than it costs you to see a movie at AMC theaters.
Well, that's why I said when Mike, during the pandemic, to feel normal, went to the theater and went to see Tenet, which he was very down on in general, both before and after, because Christopher Nolan, needs everyone to see the size of his bleep, and he just directs in a way that it's huge and epic and very heavy-handed.
What, his dick?
His bleep?
Yeah, his bleep. And so Mike Ryan sat in the theater, and you didn't pay a full price. What'd you pay? You paid for two people like $4 or something ridiculous?
He was one of those hoity-toity boutique theaters, Dan. That's how I roll. I had a bottle of wine. I believe it was Prisoner, which is actually a blend, but it's quite bold for a blend.
So what is happening here as it regards these stocks? I want to follow this path with Chris the Oaf trying to get in the game. Can you explain to the audience, Stugotz, the delight or glee? Because I can't think of a group of people right now, in the group with lawyers or agents or used car salesmen, where America would root for, I don't like that person, more than hedge fund guys. Like all over America.
No one likes the hedge
all over
fund
America,
guy.
people are working hard for their paper. People are struggling all over America. If I gave you a group of people, like a phrase, an occupation, put this on the poll, Guillermo, at Batard Show. Worst occupation. How do I phrase this? Occupation you hate the most.
Occupation the most amount of people hate the most would be hedge fund managers.
Put lawyers up there. Put used car salesmen.
Yeah.
Put sports agents. What else would go on the list?
I mean, police officers.
Would
they? I'm asking.
For some, I guess, two Americas. Okay. So we've got, on top of that, though, we're going to put hedge fund managers. And so yesterday, explains to Stugotz why America was laughing at hedge fund managers, because, of course, GameStop is an outdated. Gamers and Reddit kids did this. I loved when the Reddit kids got involved, the TikTok kids, the boy band kids. They fouled up Trump. They helped kill Herman Cain and fouled up a total convention that Trump thought was going to be filled with people that a bunch of boy band members or that community got together and basically bought tickets they were never going to use, and it turned in the first of all the embarrassments that led to Trump being ousted.
You kind of sound like a boomer when you refer to us as kids, because we're all mid-30s and have kids of our own, but I'll take the compliment, Dan.
So Dan, what's happening here is you're shorting stocks. The hedge funds are shorting stocks. They are making a bet that AMC Theaters is going to go lower and lower, and they will make money if indeed those stocks that
betting
they are
on
shorting.
Failure. Wall Street Bets. This is what happened yesterday. Wall Street Bets, which is treating this a bit like gambling, because it really is legalized.
Well, it is.
It is legalized gambling.
That's why I love it. Yeah.
But it's not quite this crass. It's filed under business, but the part that's upsetting to the janitor right now who's standing in a bread line is the idea that somebody out there can play with all this paper, and it's not real work. There's real risk involved, but it's not real work. It's pressurized, greedy people fighting each other at the top of Wall Street, and none of us like the top of Wall Street. The top of Wall Street is responsible for a great deal that plagues this country.
I wouldn't say none of us. I mean,
okay.
I'd like to be at the top of Wall Street. I mean,
the hedge fund guys make for bad martyrs because they're falling victim to what they do. Basically, the establishment is upset that the stock market can be manipulated by someone other than them. So, where you're trying to short these companies and really put them in a hole, you have these Robin Hood investors that are coming
reckless, totally reckless people, just throwing their money, like possibly throwing their money away.
Possibly, but the stock market and all these hedge fund guys are counting on all these Redditors to be undisciplined. But we're going to hold the line with diamond strong hands and show you that we can learn this stuff too.
The dangerous game is you have to rely on everyone, okay? Standing tall, being brave, okay, and not wanting to cash out. You have to rely on everyone. And listen, if I was part of this group, I would have cashed out already.
There's a Stugotz in the link. You're only as strong. Your chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And Stugotz is smoking a cigar on a yacht somewhere in Bimini.
My portfolio seems like a checkout lane in 1997. I invested in Kodak, Tootsie Roll, I have all these dying companies: BlackBerry, Nokia, AMC Theaters.
What a portfolio in the 80s,
I
man.
know, I'd be killing it back then.
All right, Chris,
BlackBerry crushed yesterday.
Chris, what was your day like yesterday? Now, for those of you who don't know, Mike, I'm not sure here. I don't know who's more of a degenerate. I have seen Mike Ryan and Stugotz try and bet Isner at 10 o'clock in the morning. I have seen a whole bunch of behavior around here as it relates to betting that is a little bit unpleasant and unseemly and feels a little greedy and, while not maybe addict-y, kind of addict.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, though, because Mike has been public about this in a way that's the volume is turned up on his gambling. I don't know if Chris isn't secretly more of a problem here as someone who ended up in a poker room during the pandemic in Coconut Creek, somebody who was betting the Australian ponies. And I just love the visual, right? As the Reddit community gets together, as Mike Ryan wears a jacket and says, puts on glasses and says, look, I'm going to learn this craft too. And let's see if baby does a little gambling here with you hedge fund guys. Here comes Ophi Chris Farley into the mix. Nipples first, a bunch of freckles, and he's coming in, and he wants in on the mix. So first, what are you shaking your head no about?
You have this wrong, Dan. I'm the grizzled vet in this game. I've been in this thing since November, okay? I'm long in this thing. But I've been going the first 2 months with the strategy of low and slow, like we're cooking a brisket. Okay, couple $100 a day. I invest in Apple, Disney, the big dogs. Low and slow, my retirement fund. That is not what happened yesterday. That group chat with Mike Ryan and all his boys, holy shit. Like, that was just like, oh, here's the stock. Here's the latest one. Okay, I'll buy 1,000 of those. Oh, I just made $600. Now I'm down $700. I gotta sell it. Should I sell it? No, Mike says hold it. I'm holding it. Oh, I'm back up $300. I'm selling half of it because I'm scared, but I'm not telling anybody in Mike's group chat.
All right, hold on.
I can't believe you guys are allowing Mike to lead you here.
This is the thing, though. Now Mike has
decided.
Mike,
sell it all.
Stugotz, Mike has decided, okay? This is what he's decided. And, Billy, I need to see whether or not you're going to get into this game. Roy, dare you. What is Roy's wife's name, Stugotz? Would she ever let you play this high-low game of gambling in the stock market?
Oh, wow.
What's her name?
Man, you asked me the other day, and the other day I got it wrong. Jenny?
What is Jenny, Roy, doing when you say, I want to get in the stock market?
Divorcing me.
Okay, so he's out of the game. So let's see how this works, though, Mike, because I believe that look, it is crazy around here. It's totally unstable. We're flying in every direction. You know what we decide? Hey, let's try and get this on Twitch as well. Let's fly in a bunch of engineers and see if we can get our sea legs under us in real time in front of the audience. It has required a lot of work outside of the creating of this show. It has required a lot of work as we head into free agency. Mike Ryan, the only creative radio bit he knows how to create is Yargh or Nargh.
No, that's inaccurate. It's Yargh or Nargh, and it will be coming later today.
Okay, right. So he doesn't have time for anything creative, but he decides, because he's a little crazy right now, and he's been giving off hints of devil up his nose for about, I don't know,
as cocaine-y as I've ever seen him.
And on top of that, though,
what gives you that impression?
Nothing.
Yesterday, Stugotz, though, tell me I've got this wrong. Yesterday, and this is the dangerous game, Chris, you've got to be careful about this. On the side, Mike Ryan decided, hey, I'll pick up this challenge. Let me see if I could get a snorting the stock market habit. Let me see if I could just reach in over here and snort some GameStop and snort some Nokia, snort some Kodak.
I haven't been overly public about my stock market game, but I've been investing in the stock market for many years, and I've done quite well. But industry leaders need to have a voice right now because the messaging is trying to be blocked by the establishment. Dan, they took down our Reddit. They're taking down our communities, invoking excuses like hate speech, which is ugly, and I do not support that. But I'm just saying, they're finding loopholes to shut us up. So you know what we need? We need verified blue check marks out there getting the message to hold the line with diamond strong hands. And that's what me, my boy Elon, and Shamath are doing.
Oh, God. Sell. I'm telling you,
Everyone.
This is a dangerous game. Listen to me, people. If you take anything from me, take this. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. I said that. Not Warren
I
say
Buffett.
just be greedy. I mean,
You looked like you were reading. You looked like you were reading directly from your computer. And Stugotz stepped on your joke of being able to explain who you were quoting.
sorry.
I am worried about Chris Cody, though, because he's quiet oftentimes in the Stonks chat, and one of the members of the Stonks chat will be joining us, Tom Haberstroh, because there are sports implications to
What?
this, Dan. Very interesting sports implications, even for Stugotz's New York Mets. But the important thing is we hold, because everyone's counting on us idiots to be able to cash out our chips when the game is going good and just leave everybody else on an island. No. We are Legion. We are holding the line.
Mike, I have a problem during this. This would be a beautiful story symbolically for America if people could get together, put aside their selfishness and greed, and actually take down some hedge fund guys with GameStop. It would be symbolic, Stugotz, because throughout all of this pandemic, what we have seen again and again as Korea is able to be disciplined and immediately get a full season of baseball, no problem, out because the people of the country are united culturally in the discipline of we can't be sick. We have to get healthy. This would be perfect toward the end of the pandemic. I just wouldn't trust at all, Mike, that there will be anything that resembles selfless unity. When we started the football season booing unity in Kansas City, and we can't wear masks because masks are a political argument, and we're dragging poor old man Fauci through the streets, and then all of a sudden now he can speak freely. When we can't agree on those simple things because of our selfishness, what makes you think that in the name of GameStop, people are going to get together and stop what's been happening in this country in terms of selfishness?
Because we've been hearing that for days now, Dan, and you know what happened? AMC went to the moon. GameStop still goes up, up, up. We're a rocket ship right now, Dan. We are the new establishment.
And Billy's fear, though, what do you make of Billy's fear that the people telling you to get out are the people who aren't making the money you're making right now? That Stugotz sounds like your conservative dad.
CNBC, disgusting viewing. Oh, this is irresponsible. You're taking advantage of people, as if the stock markets and the hedge fund guys weren't doing that to the little man. This is all jealousy because the little man figured out their game.
So tell me the funny parts of it specifically being GameStop. So
Well, the memes. The memes are the best part. Honestly, if I wasn't doing any stock market stuff in my life, I'd probably jump in right now because I'm here for the memes first, money second.
So it's entertaining and fun and funny on top of being snorting the stock market in your spare time. It is. This sounds like crack. All of this. It doesn't sound like cocaine. It sounds like crack.
No, it's cocaine. It's
the higher end.
AMC.
It's the higher end.
It's
AMC's
Bolivia.
dropping.
Yeah.
AMC's dropping in the pre-market
it's
right
not.
now.
It's
Mike.
dropping right now.
It's
It's dropping.
hold.
Chris, are you going to get out?
Mike.
Chris, are you gonna
Scared,
get
Mike.
out? Chris, you need to run for your life there. Chris.
Mike's going to be the lone guy holding on the stocks.
It is. It's going to be Mike alone.
32
owning
cents.
AMC. The M in AMC is going to be Mike.
They're trying to scare you, okay?
I mean, Mike, Chris.
They
It's going
have-
to be the three of you.
They're buying the stock and dumping it in large portions. The establishment wants to scare you away. Do not fall for it because all they got in their arsenal is just lazy scare tactics. If we hold the line, no matter what, guys, there was a 20-minute span where I literally lost thousands of dollars and got it all back just by holding the line. We're going straight to the moon, folks. We're all going to be millionaires by show's end.
Mike, they have more money than you. They have more resources than you.
They're gonna
They have a
figure it
lot
out.
more. They're going to figure it out quickly. Mike,
we have better memes.
Mike,
we have better memes. We're funnier and we're more stubborn.
This would be like the United States beating the Russians in hockey. If you could tackle
You're
the
not going to beat the hedge funds, Mike. You're not going to beat the hedge fund.
Be fearful when others are greedy. Remember my words.
Your
Not Warren
words.
Buffett.
Your words.
Remember my words. Quote, give me some more of that shit.
Chris, what's going on with you and yesterday? Take us through your yesterday. And you say you've been here since November. You haven't been buying GameStop since November.
No, I have not really been day trading. I put the amount of money in there that I need to day trade, but I've been scared of that because I know that it's just like sports gambling. Yesterday was crazy, man. It was just like I invested in 12 different things at one point, and then I was out of most of them and back in them. It was a roller coaster, man. It was scary.
What are the
It
swings?
was so much fun, though.
Hold on
a
second.
It really was fun.
Just what's going on with us right now in our lives, right? You are headed straight toward the end of your severance. Let's just be honest about where we are in the pirate ship sales, as you have seen a little bit of. Well, what we've been making at Meadowlark so far is jokes and announcements. What we haven't been making at Meadowlark so far is money. So, as we go up on...
Problematic.
Yes, this is correct. But not only that, not making money, but on top of that, everyone's severance. It's easy to be the pirate ship when you're still funded by the remnants of Disney, right? We've all got... me, Stugotz, and Mike, because of the way the contracts are written differently when you're on air and a producer. Me, Mike, and Stugotz got a severance pay. We're not being paid anything for what we're doing.
Not anymore.
Right.
BlackBerry has all of mine.
So there's no money coming in here right now over the last month to me, Stugotz, and
I'm not
Mike.
kidding.
But the shipping container, and we've had to look for benefits and our insurance and everything else because we are flying on the pirate ship, and the pirate ship does not at the moment have insurance.
I was supposed to call someone for that at some point in time, right?
You got a lot going on right now. You got more going on than most of us. You let me know, because we haven't had a conversation off air, what is allowed to be transparent and what isn't, Stugotz, because we like sharing a lot with our audience, and Stugotz shares transparently most of his life. I just haven't been able to talk to him about where he is right now this minute.
Yeah, you need to be lifted up by your friends. We're here for you. And I got a hot tip. Water is the new gold.
Okay.
So, Chris, this is what I want to understand, because we're in a position, and I don't know how you getting fired first ended up with, you've got more days of severance than everyone else, right? Everyone else is coming up in the beginning of February.
He also has a job. I mean, you hired him.
Yes, he's got a job as well, as opposed to the other guys. He's my personal assistant. But so we are in a position, Chris, where you're gambling away your severance. That's what you're doing. There are thousands of dollars in swings because you're gambling away your severance.
I'd say more so cameo money.
Okay, so that's a great rationalization.
I'm not down, Dan. Have you seen the news? I am like, it's all going to crash, and I might lose all my money. But right now, we're doing good.
I know what's happening here, Chris. You got a bunch of jealous folks upset they didn't get on the train when it was leaving the station, and now they want in on the funny memes, and more importantly, the money. We're not letting you in our club. The Reddit has been shut down, all right? It's all just blue check marks right now, relaying the message, and that message is diamond strong hands.
Pre-market AMC is down 20%.
It's a trick. I mean, how many times do I got to tell you, these hedge fund guys, they got nothing. They're buying a bunch and selling even more to try to scare you off. Don't talk to me about pre-market. Talk to me at 9:30.
All right.
You guys want a little hint about today? Maybe a naked Chris might come back today. If you guys, catch my
I'm
drift.
on it,
Mike.
baby.
They don't get it, Mike. They don't get it.
They're idiots, and we're laughing all the way to the bank with fledgling companies like Bed Bath & Beyond.
Chris, would you do me the favor, please, because we're on Twitch and because
I'm not getting naked. No.
Yes, no, you need to do that.
Just take
No,
off
you
your
did.
shirt.
You need, Chris, you need to just
You
take
offered, I
Chris,
mean.
these segments, the way we're doing these segments, okay, people have noticed, and we have noticed, we'd prefer to stay and paint within the lines and do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, feed your lack of attention span, change the subject, throw a lot of sparkly stuff in your face. So 40-minute segments straight through with no commercials is not the way to go. However, it is the way to go if everyone understands that we're sort of trying to crawl around the new format here, and now we want to go to Naked Chris at some point during this Twitch. You can take your time. I will do show around you, but at some point here, I do want Naked Chris's thoughts on the stock market, because what's happening in America right now, Stugotz, with the money is fascinating. It's interesting. I would think that the hedge fund guys would give you 1 day to surprise them, and that they worked all night and they will bury everybody today, and everyone's going to be sent scampering because you've just stuck your hand in a piranha the Amazon is filled with piranha. It is feeding, and you escaped their attention for 1 day. You climbed in a loophole. I do believe you should get in and get out.
2 days, old fogey.
Right.
2 days.
Then you got to consider when you sell these things, I think it takes 3 business days to sell. I mean, it's a dangerous game, man.
That's going to be the real fun part when everybody realizes we can't exactly sell immediately. I'm trying like hell to get out from this Tootsie Roll stock because it was like one of the lesser known stocks had started to blow up, but there's no messaging out there saying hold the Tootsie Roll, so I got to get the hell out.
Chris, I want to, at some point in the next 15 minutes, as we roll along without interruption, I want an appearance from Naked Chris in some form. I want to segue into talking Miami Heat here.
He's not going to stop until you take your shirt off, Chris.
That's true.
Exactly.
And you can leave the camera and figure out a way to do that, but we need a Naked Chris segment. We need the payoff at the end of this segment needs to be a Naked Chris segment.
You know, Naked is a company that's going to blow up today. Like, that was kind of the joke I was going for there.
They missed the boat.
Bam,
I don't really have Naked Chris is me with a bunch of topics and like I could pull stuff out of my front, but it's probably going to fall.
Just take your shirt off at some point. That's the only way you're going to make them happy.
That is correct. Yeah. It is not happening. My
I'm
personal
shirtless.
My personal assistant. Look, we don't have a human resources department, but at the
I'm
moment,
pale, man. It's not to do with how fat I am.
Pale is not
I'm
what
really
you're worried
pale.
about.
My tan's not good right now.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. What is Chris actually worried about with shirtlessness? Is he worried about pale? Is he worried about nipples? Is he worried about flab? Which is it? Which do you believe it is? Because I think, Mike, that we're headed straight toward a human resources violation, even though we don't have an HR department. If I force Chris uncomfortably to take off his shirt on Twitch, I feel like that's a boss with an employee that's not sanctioned behavior.
Yeah, we all see what you're trying to do, and it's one of those rubber meets the road moments right now for Chris Cody. If he wants to stay with this company, he's going to have to take his shirt off.
Yeah. I was going to say threaten to fire him. That will help.
Well, I don't want to do that because that leaves me liable in ways.
Yeah.
I think if that gets out and the proof is Twitch is brought to the court hearings, people are going to say, no, clearly he was bullied and badgered and sexually harassed to show everybody his boobs.
Right now, we have the same HR department that they had in the movie Boiler Room, so take your shirt off.
Okay, so
after yesterday, I have a backup plan.
you're just going to let that sit there, or you're going to share it with
You're
him?
not even going to say bland?
It's the stock market. Like, being a day trader is my backup plan.
Okay.
Take your shirt off, please.
Now take it off.
All right, look.
You're lucky it's just a shirt at this point.
It is, and look, Chris. We are trending very quickly toward eventually.
Towards
all right,
being
Chris,
broke.
show them your dick. We're headed straight there.
I think that violates some sort of Twitch policy.
You say that again because I stepped on it.
No, it's okay. We're
live, by
We're
the way.
live. There's no editing here.
It was in the group text.
I knew
sent
that was going to
yesterday.
happen,
Sorry.
Mike. I knew not being able to talk to him before this that I knew he
Yeah,
wasn't
because
going to
You know I didn't read what you wrote
that
yesterday.
we don't
I mean,
get to stop
saw
and
it.
keep going. So
I did enjoy you waltzing in here at 8:07, understanding you got stuff going on, but it was a Twitch broadcast that started at 8, and you just waltzed in here.
Sorry, Twitch.
So this is where we are with all of this, Stugotz, because I don't know what to tell the audience about what's going on just with everything here, right? Because we are very much not doing anything that has any rules on it. This
Right.
is free. It's unpaid. We can do it the way we want. It's not. We have the credibility of having been in a professional place in a professional space, but we can do whatever we like within this space because it's total freedom. And you've seen already, Amin has fallen on the wrong side of our CEO because you give pirates total freedom, and sometimes they do dumb things as pirates with total freedom. And so he's doing porn stuff, and that doesn't represent the CEO of this company or what he's trying to do with Meadowlark Media. But we are this thing in Meadowlark Media that's not going to fit with the rest of the, hoity-toity, artsy, literary stuff, important societal work, best content that you will find in sports anywhere. That stuff is off to the side. We're the clown show over here, living inside the Empire's silliness, and we're the first thing in the Empire. But there's stuff going on outside of here, outside of the doing of the show for all of us. And that's why many of you have been asking, hey, why is Stugotz or what's going on with Stugotz going in and out of the show? And I just don't know what you want to share. And please, if you don't want to share anything, say so, because I do regret that we didn't get to talk before we started today.
Man, it's tough. Well, I have no problem. I've always shared my life with the audience and of course, with the guys on the show here. About 2 weeks ago, my mom tested positive for COVID. My mom was not healthy going into testing positive for COVID. She had some autoimmune issues with her. And so when she tested positive, obviously as a family, we were super fearful because we knew the potential results and the likely results of her testing positive for COVID. And I'll just say this, and I'm not trying to bring the show down, but you asked, and so we're here. Until you've until you've dealt with it, you might see stuff on TV and we'll have people on and we'll interview them. But until you have to deal with it, you don't know what you're dealing with. And until you have to make decisions on behalf of your mom and your family that I don't wish anyone ever would have to make in their entire lives, then you don't know what you're dealing with. It's a real thing. It happened super, super quickly to someone of my mom's age who was not terribly healthy. And 2 days ago, at around 6:30 p.m. Eastern, my mom unfortunately passed away. It's been a heartbreaking time for me and for my family and for my dad. But I can now relate to many listeners who have said to us over the years, Dan, that this show has helped them through some difficult times, because that's exactly what it's done for me. Just being around you, being around Mike, seeing these guys on Zoom, not just the last few days, because I wasn't here the last show we did, but just I've been dealing with this for 2 to 3 weeks, as Dan knows. It's been super cathartic just to come in here, to laugh, to smile. I'm kind of not here. Dan pointed that out yesterday. It's not you. It's not the Stugotz we recognize. I've been dealing with a lot, and so there is some peace in letting Mom go a couple of nights ago, because she was in a lot of pain. But we'll move on as a family, and I have felt the support of everyone on this show. I appreciate it. I have felt the support from our listeners. I appreciate it. And I will only tell you that my mom was in so much physical pain over the last, 5 years, that she really, really started to watch this show on a daily basis. She loved it. She loved all of you guys. And what she loved most about it, and she used to tell me this all the time, is what she loved about Dan. Because, listen, as a mom, it's hard to hear your son get pounded on every day for 20 years. But what my mom always wanted for me, and what Dan was able to bring out of me and this show, because I feel so comfortable around you guys, is I work at a place with people where I'm allowed to just be myself. And that meant a lot to her, and I wanted you guys to know that. So she really loved this show. Roy was her favorite.
Oh, that's great. That's so great.
She told me that, Roy.
That is
you
so
must have,
great.
listen, you did a number on her at the bat mitzvah. I don't know what you did,
so
Roy.
Great. That is so great.
But it's been a difficult time, so thank you guys. I'm thanking the guys here on the show for your support, because it's meant a lot to me.
Well, and many of you are tired of me thanking the audience, because we've told you a number of different times that we did everything that we're doing here and trying everything we're trying here because you gave us the courage to do it. We just sort of felt you'd come with us, that okay, we're going to a pirate ship. We felt like you'd all be like a meme. Okay, where do I need to go? Where do I need to go to be with this thing that dragged me through a dark time? And we just sort of felt that. And one of the things, and I'm sorry, Stugotz, that we ended up like that there without talking about it beforehand.
No, that's okay.
I've never seen Stugotz cry before. This is 20 years I've known him. He's made of wires, and he's funny, and he's covered in sandpaper. He can take a beating, obviously. I've never seen him cry before. And during the stress of all of this for us, this is, like this just terrible thing in the middle of it, where I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in terms of grieving parents, we've been together 20 years doing this show.
Crocodile tears.
20 years doing this, and Mike lost his mother young, but we haven't had one of these situations where one of our own is losing a parent. And many of you in the audience right now can know whatever that grief is, but it's not something that has resided around our little family here. And so, Stugotz, one of the things that you were saying there, and I don't want to sort of probe the grief you're going through, even though that I'm the grief eater. I don't want to do that.
We all believe you, Dan.
I don't want to do that.
It's okay.
I want the audience to understand. I was talking about this the other day with Matt Kelleher, one of the two guys who's been at the top of the PTI, the whole thing that happened at ESPN over 20 years, right, where it was Kelleher and Ride Home saw Tony and Mike and said, let's get sports writers in here with chemistry. That spun off into highly questionable. He took over. Ride Home and Kelleher took over Around the Horn. And so whatever's been on ESPN for 20 damn years is Kelleher and Ride Home growing up in that job as 30-year-olds like Mike and getting to 50 years old doing, shepherding a bunch of sports writers into a pen every day to make 2 hours of television on ESPN. And I was talking to Kelleher about this, and he had never looked at it like this before, but you and I have been in this place for a pretty long time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you realize that you guys are parents to a family there, right? That those people never leave. They don't go to other jobs. That they stay in that job and they're comfortable and they don't know another world because you guys are family and you guys have raised those kids professionally through the industry. How many of you guys here, so Mike makes fun of me for saying kids, but how many of you guys have had a real professional job for months outside of this one? Out in the industry, anywhere in the industry. Like Whittingham just got here because Whittingham was a part of everything we were doing at the beginning, and then he decided he wanted to go the Boog Shambi route of let me see if I could get into play-by-play because I'm exceptional at this. He's just helping us out now. He's vastly overqualified for what it is that he's doing. But we've got a family that extends into people like Whittingham, like Parakeet Cortez up in New York, where we're all in on this together. They just happened, Whittingham and Cortez happened to go outside of the bubble to go get the things that they wanted, and everyone else stayed here. But this family, when did you realize that? Because I think you brought it to me, Stugotz. I don't think I realized it. I think you realized that this was your family at some point in the last 10 years where we sort of looked up and we're like, oh, wait a minute. This is our support system. These are the people we love. These are like our sons, and they treat us with the reverence and the disrespect and the rolling your eyes that you would treat your parents with.
I've spent more time with you and these guys than I have with my parents, than I have with my kids, than I have with my wife, than I have with my family over the last 10 years. I probably realized it. There's been some moments, like there's the moment where we're kind of handing the baton over and those guys are on stage and they're getting all the applause and all that, and you and I had a
crocodile tears.
Crocodile tears. We had that's the first time you saw me cry. The second time was during.
That's true, actually. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes, he did cry watching the shipping container on stage, and we were like parents at a graduation watching them soak in adulation. That was funny.
I think for some reason, what made me happiest, and maybe this is when I realized it, was when Mike and Roy, and I think was there anyone else who came. When those guys, you took the buyout clause, Dan, which we appreciate it. You're putting my kids through college. To see them interact with my parents and have moments with my parents at my daughter's bat mitzvah was very, very cool. So I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, this is an extension of my family, and now they're meeting my family. Your family's always been a bigger part of this show, and that's fine. I never wanted to bring my family into the show that much. I'm certain you would have been okay with it, or at least I think you would have, but probably back at my daughter's.
We can do that now. We did on your father, because this is going to be one of the things, forgive me, Stugotz, but one of the things that has been interesting to see the deconstruction of Stugotz's family as some of this stuff has happened is that the audience needs to know, for as much as we treat him as a piñata around here, Stugotz is a really good son. He is a really good husband, and he is a really good father. That would be something that would be lost, I think, on a lot of people. They just wouldn't see it because he's so often in character for us. And so,
father and son, definitely.
And, well, yeah, the husband stuff, actually, you guys have a funny relationship. I don't know how good a husband you are. You're a faithful husband. I know that.
I am a faithful husband.
So I don't know how much you're actually not hitting your wife with "make me a sandwich."
I haven't listened to a word you guys have said. I've just been trying to sell Tootsie Roll stock.
I would have done the same.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Mike Ryan has had no time over the last few days to do much of anything, or weeks, or even months, in terms of, maybe not months, just creative fun, having creative meetings instead of engineering meetings and meetings about bills and meetings about audio. And so what has leaked out of him creatively at a time that he's handling a bunch of garbage that isn't creative is just the bare minimum effort of a radio segment called Yargh or Nargh. It's not trying at all. It's ridiculous. It is lazy producing of the highest order. But before we get to a new segment that I can't imagine what it's about, 10 years of evolution on Highly Questionable, where the only Latin thing was my father and the word sí o no that anyone understands. Now Mike has decided, sí o no, I'm going to bring it in evolution 10 years later into Pirate Yargh or Nargh.
I'm glad you have the sí or no experience. It's going to be crucial for this bit, in that it's the exact same bit.
All right, except not in Spanish. Before we get to that, though, and before we get to why it is that Chris Cody is shirtless, if you're just joining the Twitch later in the day.
Wait, so Yargh or Nargh is yes or no?
You got it.
Oh, wow.
Before we get to that, though, I want to marvel at this creature, Stugotz. because for a number of different reasons. If you have watched over the last, 8 years that we were on ESPN, it was a weird thing for us to be a part of. We never really fit there. They never really understood what we were doing, and we were amateur and they were not. And then we left after 8 years. But one of the things that I think it was 8 years, right? 8 years, 9 years?
8. Yargh.
Yargh, yes.
Yeah.
8 years.
You're going to kill it in this game.
One of the things that we were trying to do while there, the whole goal as a whispered secret to the audience. Can you believe we're here? How is Stugotz here? What do you mean he's feuding with Wilbon and running on the set of Sports Nation? It's Stugotz. He shouldn't be allowed in any of these places. They're professional places. Why aren't the guardrails stopping him? The electrical fences. And so the whole goal was have him climb to the top of that ridiculous 4 to 6 mountain at ESPN where only serious journalists reside, talking about serious journalism things, and see if we could get Stugotz on Around the Horn, and one day, God bless PTI, and then just have him be at the top of sports as the sports fan. And it got derailed right toward the finish line. We didn't quite get there, correct?
We got the College Game Day.
We didn't quite get to the top of the mountain. But the great thing, Mike, before we get to Yargh or Nargh.
Oh, I thought that was the top of the mountain.
No. Before we get to Yargh or Nargh, the great thing about this Stugotz ascent through everything is now, kind of quietly, in a way that's super amazing, the top of the mountain for Stugotz, as great as these things are, College Game Day or talking wherever, Monday Night Football, the top of the mountain over there was not achievable, but on his podcast, Stupidity, in a playground made a mess just by him and all the garbage he has wrought and greed he has wrought over 15, 20 years, Stugotz is having the Jets coach on, which is kind of his dream in terms of afternoon sports talk in this business. The last Jets coach was legitimately Stugotz's friend. Mm-hmm. He would text with the Jets coach, and now at the top of sports, or at the bottom of the top of sports, or at the bottom of the bottom of sports, Stugotz has a relationship with the Jets coach and interviews him immediately on Stupidity. They granted Stugotz in the pirate ship. Stugotz, in his own world over here in the corner, is getting the best guests that the pirate ship has gotten so far. The pirate ship has been a month here floating at sea, and we haven't got a guest of the stature of the new Jets coach because we are barnacles on this sports ship.
We did have Aaron Rodgers. I'll remind you of that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
Second best guest then. I'm still mad at Rodgers because he's given McAfee all of those. He's given McAfee all of it, and that should be ours. We should be in that playpen, not McAfee.
Well, the season's over, and Rodgers said he was a free agent once the season was over.
We got to get him. I wanted to get him. Mike, I wanted to do a weekly show with him at ESPN. We could have been doing this already.
He's getting paid by Pat McAfee.
And add him to the list.
You're paying
man.
Bob.
I know. Add him to the list.
And Bob's a bigger priority right now.
I know, but we want A-Rod, don't we? I mean, we would like A-Rod and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'd like, which one would you like more?
Why did you just do A-Rod? Because
I don't know. I mean, Aaron Rodgers.
You meant to say
commonly referred to as A-Rod sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah. Which A-Rod would you rather have, though, on the network?
Stupidity. The Jets coach. How did that feel to you?
Can we call him by his name? I don't think we know his name.
His name's
Sexy Salas.
His name is Robert Saleh.
Yeah, I think we had a receiver once called Greg Salas. Maybe that's a confusion.
I am not certain outside of Dan Campbell there's any coach that could take my coach, so I feel good about that. I haven't been this excited about a Jet head coach since the last Jet head coach. I mean, this is it. They finally got it right, and so he joined us on Stupidity. And I was happy to get him outside of the ESPN umbrella because I thought once we left ESPN, I'd never speak to a Jet coach again. And so I got him on. There's a budding friendship. He has promised me that perhaps during a preseason game, he will allow me to call a play. We'll see. We'll see. He's also the best man at Matt LaFleur's wedding. I didn't know that. And Mikey LaFleur is my offensive coordinator. I found that out from the Jets head coach. I've been this excited since Weeb Eubank. I mean, this is it.
Who the hell is that guy?
I don't know.
Either way.
You don't remember Weeb Eubank? One of the great names in sports history.
No, not at all. Stupidity sounds great, by the way. All the audio issues that plagued Stupidity early on alleviated. It is a top-notch broadcast with a top-notch guest, Rob Saleh. Stupidity was amazing. That dropped yesterday. We're hoping to have that be the usual day as the show is off. So South Beach Sessions Part 3 with John Skipper came out, and Stupidity dropped with Rob Saleh yesterday. Make sure to search out Le Batard and Friends, that separate podcast network is where you'll find the side projects that we just mentioned.
I keep putting up stupidities against John Skipper. How many more parts of this do we have? I mean,
well, I wanted to ask Chris about this, and Mike, and Billy had to go, so forgive us. Again, we're all just sort of, this is work, but we're not supposed to be working technically, and we are working, and so people have to go in and out of their lives, and as we mentioned earlier, Stugotz is dealing with stuff at home, and we are happy to be doing this for you and have been for a while because during a pandemic, it has given us something to do every day that makes the world feel slightly less weird. But when we're talking, Mike, about Stugotz on Stupidity having issues with the audio, what was happening there? Because we are trying to get you the same amount of content. There are a number of degrees of difficulty in that, and I don't know what happened with Stugotz and the audio, but was he active? Was it terrible? Was it amateur?
What happened was he forgot to plug his mic in. It was a pretty quick solve.
Yeah.
So that's all
happened.
for how long?
That's all.
Well, and then click on the Yeti microphone button.
Any particular reason your producer didn't tell you to do that while you were doing it?
It's a good question.
Everything sounds the same over the Zoom. It's a confusing thing. And there's just like a base level of professionalism you expect from
For many
host.
months, though, Mike would get mad at me because I would sound the worst on my own podcast.
Your guest would sound incredible. Dan Patrick knows how to sound good on your podcast. You have no idea, but
it's on brand, right? I mean, it's on brand. All of it is on brand. Stugotz happens on brand into things all the time that are just Stugotz on brand. So, of course, Stupidity is sponsored and sounds terrible because Stugotz didn't plug in his mic. And while he's talking to the Jets coach, he got it right, though.
Yeah,
correct?
but half the episodes have sounded good.
Yeah. I'll remind you, only one of these podcasts has been number one overall ahead of Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
Shirtless Chris, what does Mystery Crate have? Because, Mike, you got to get that sound. We wanted to get it for Ron McGill. Goat Piss Mike, we wanted to reestablish.
It's not saved. I got to keep looking.
All right, so Chris, tell people the backstory because Chris is going through – this is actually a funny idea because Chris is going through some of the obscure characters and seeing where we end up. Goat Piss Mike has been asking over a decade a question in a funny – I don't even know where the accent is from. I guess Chris will tell me in a second. But we have taped one of the inside jokes on the show for about 10 years is this guy who called in to Ron McGill one time, and he sounded really unusual, and he also asked a super unusual question. And so we have, over the years, played that as a last question to Ron McGill for the better part of 10 years. Chris has tracked down this person. This backstory has to be fascinating, does it not, Chris? This guy lives much differently than you do and we do, correct?
Yeah. I mean, his voice gives off that you think he lives in like the woods when you hear him talk, but his voice, he's actually more normal than you think, but he's got some crazy stories. Basically how it started is we tracked down the guy that you told the story about a few weeks ago, the guy who got drugged in Miami, a listener of our show. He came down, had his birthday weekend, got drugged, and still had a great weekend because he just loves our show. He got to meet Billy and I, and he got drugged, but it was still a good weekend. Long story short, he is best friends with Goat Piss Mike.
Oh, no,
so
really?
The guy who got drugged in Miami just happened
Are you kidding
to be
me?
best friends with Goat Piss Mike. So we said, we can't just talk to you, guy who got drugged in Miami. We need you to bring in Goat Piss Mike. So tomorrow's Mystery Crate is Billy, Roy, and I talking to the guy who got drugged in Miami and Goat Piss Mike.
All right, stop right there because that is shocking. But so this is the deal of where it is we are right now. We are not doing the show tomorrow because if you've been with us, there are things going on in Stugotz's personal life that need tending to. We, every day here, all of us on the business of getting this up and running are doing a number of different things. So we are off tomorrow. But if you want to ration out your addictive morsels, Stugotz's Stupidity, the sound is good, and he is talking to the Jets head coach who's sexy, and his last name is not Salas or Salad.
I love this marketing campaign for Stupidity. Now in good audio.
And so here is Chris telling you that a Mystery Crate is going to drop, and this is the backstory, because this is a deep inside joke for many of you. I'm guessing many of you haven't. When's the last time we've been told this?
Well, you
joke?
said the better part of a decade, and it's quite the opposite. First off, he asked it once, and we just kept playing it for maybe about 7 episodes. So this is a deep Batard show cut.
Hi, Ron. It's good to talk to you. I had a question. Is it true that the male billy goat attracts females by urinating on its own face?
So get to know Goat Piss Mike tomorrow.
I love that.
It was there. I don't know why it was so comedically perfect, but let's analyze it for a second because it's the comment. It's the combination of this, Stugotz. You're driving around in your car at the time because maybe this was podcast time, but whatever. You're driving around and a caller to a radio show calls in, and it's a show on ESPN radio, and it's a show ostensibly about sports. And why are they talking to that animal guy? And why are they talking about the animal kingdom? This doesn't have anything to do with sports except for the rare time somebody calls in and says, how would a gorilla do as a defensive end? And Ron breaks it down, or should an elephant be the one handed the ball at the goal line, or a rhino? And we rarely talk sports with Ron McGill. So you're driving around and you're listening to ESPN radio, and this might be the reason that all of these people were always trying to get Ron McGill off of the radio, even though he was wildly entertaining at ESPN. You're driving around. I want to listen to sports. What happened in the game last night? And Ron McGill is talking about whatever it is, and we're asking nonstop questions about the animals and not sports. And then at the very end, this guy makes an appearance with this comedically perfect accent combined with Stugotz, combined with the way the question dismounts, where we're all just looking at each other.
Hi, Ron. It's good to talk to you. I had a question. Is it true that the male billy goat attracts females by urinating on its own face?
He really stuck the landing.
Goat piss, Mike. Chris, how much did you enjoy doing that? How great was it? Sell Mystery Crate as something people need to be listening to tomorrow.
I mean, this dude, Craig, and Goat Piss, they have a really interesting relationship, and a lot of their stories involve urinating.
There it is.
It's a little on the nose for Goat Piss, Mike, don't you think?
Mike, we will get to Yargh or Nargh in a second, but I've been trying for 2 days to talk to you about something that I believe the Miami audience would like talked about. Yesterday, Denver, you never win. You're never going to beat Denver, right? Pandemic, no pandemic. You go up there, you're going to lose to Denver. So that game was that game even close? Because
Wait, I think it was in Miami, that game.
It was. Yeah, Jimmy Butler finally popped up out of the shadows.
109.82 was played a mile away from these studios.
Okay, so not in Denver. I had it being a loss. That was a road loss. It was not a road loss. But what is happening with Bam Adebayo, and this is from a Twitter account, Jimmy's Burner.
Denver is 4-5 at home this year.
Miami never wins at Denver, and of course never wins at Denver when playing in Miami. That would be hard to do. But the stat I saw that was really encouraging, no matter what's going on with the Heat season right now, is the following. In year 4, Greek Freak Stugotz, 22.9 points a game. In year 4, Adebayo, 20.7 points per game. Greek Freak, 8.8 rebounds per game. 4th year. Adebayo, 9 rebounds per game. Greek Freak, 5.4 assists per game. Adebayo, 5.4 assists per game. Greek Freak, 52% shooting. Adebayo, 60% shooting. Greek Freak, 77% free throw shooter. Adebayo, 85% free throw shooter. So he's a basket worse. Adebayo is a basket worse a game offensively than Greek Freak was at the same point in his development.
Incredible. And he's been to an NBA final. Somewhere that
it's got to excite you a little bit if there is actually a range that he can develop that would make him the guy. And also all of his handle on the metrics that measure this stuff, 95 percentile or above in terms of how well he handles the ball with his usage rate.
Are those numbers worse? Probably the scoring is, right, if Jimmy Butler's playing all the time?
Look, his stats are better because Jimmy Butler's not out there. But and Greek Freak a lot of times was playing with somebody who wasn't Jimmy Butler's caliber. So, yes, of course, those numbers get skewed. But I prefer to look at the efficiencies. That to have the counting stats be equal is fine. But when you're talking about some of the efficiencies, you're talking about Adebayo, he's trending toward Greek Freak. That's what you can't do a lot better than that.
Screams Kevin Garnett to me, too, which is an amazing place for him to be at because he wasn't projected as this. And a versatile player, one that makes smart decisions, one that you can trust bringing the ball up the court. No ceiling for this player, really.
So Tom Haberstroh is going to join us to talk about what's happening in sports, but I want to talk to him about that. Mike, is he joining us this hour or is he joining us next hour?
He'll be joining us after Yargh or Nargh. We'll have to pick up the pieces then, but he's joining us sometime around 10:30. He will talk to us about basketball and an article that he put up on Truehoop. It should be live today about the business, the sports business implications of what happened on the stock market.
Michael Jordan was impacted, was he not?
This article will be about Michael Jordan. Lots of hedge fund people have teams in sports and have interest in owning teams in sports. And yeah, there were consequences to the actions of a few Redditors.
So this is breaking news here from Adam Schefter. Deshaun Watson officially has requested a trade from the Houston Texans, per league sources. He actually did it a few weeks ago. The new head coaching hire, a 65-year-old guy, David Culley, has not and will not alter Watson's thinking. So Deshaun Watson is out, right? He's going to figure out.
Yeah.
If he's got a no trade clause and he wants out, Deshaun Watson is officially open for business. And I think Mike is right when he says earlier this week, Yargh, 18 teams are going to be interested.
I agree. I also told you that if the Texans hired Barack Obama to be their next head coach, he still would have left that place. So
this is never available. This is a fairly surprising thing. And I know that we've been talking about it for a week or so, his unhappiness, and Schefter's been all over the Deshaun Watson is unhappy beat. But a quarterback who is top 5, top 6, top 7 in the league good, he's going to give you a decade of good. You know it if he's healthy. That is never available. Teams keep that. You have to be profoundly and grossly mismanaged to arrive in a place where that's what you're losing. It's fairly amazing to step back from all the stuff that has happened with the Patriots, where you get the guy next to the guy and you hire the guy, and I'm not even talking about Bill O'Brien here. The guy in charge right now of the Texans is their pastor, it's their team. It was their team chaplain. Bill Belichick has been quoted as saying, that guy doesn't know anything about personnel, and so they're just they're fumigating the entire organization, and they're throwing away 10 years. They could not do right by a guy who's going to give you 10 years of great at that position. Nobody disputes this, right? There's not, no matter what the dissenters are on different quarterbacks, college quarterbacks, black quarterbacks, there is no dissension in our audience on the subject of Deshaun Watson. Anyone wants that for 10 years, period, stop.
I think maybe Chiefs fans, and that's about it. But no one would disagree. How could you disagree with it? If you're a Dolphin fan, you should want them to trade anything they can to get them.
I mean, Stugotz, how you could disagree with it is that guy has never evolved into that thing coming from college and all the places that we doubted. He arrived at exactly the right point in terms of sports evolution. Bill Polian's getting out. Lamar Jackson is getting in. Wait a minute, a quarterback can do this. You can do it cheaply with a quarterback at this position. You can have him be an athlete. This is a sports evolution in real time. Deshaun Watson 5 years ago is not the sure thing by any stretch that he is now. Deshaun Watson is someone who's being argued against as he heads into the draft because these walls hadn't fallen yet.
Right.
So Deshaun Watson, people would have made the argument. He went where? He went middle of the first round, correct?
Yeah, I think early teens. It was the Wentz year, I believe.
He was not a sure thing.
Was it the Wentz year? It was a Trubisky. It was a Trubisky year.
Yeah. But he is such a sure thing now that if I put these Clemson quarterbacks next to each other and say, who do you want, Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence? Deshaun Watson is the sure thing now. Trevor Lawrence is...
Well, you're on with 4 years of seeing him do
Trevor
it, and this past year was his best year.
You understand my point, that the quarterbacks from Clemson, in terms of the sure thing, people are tanking for Trevor Lawrence. That's what the quarterback has always looked like. We doubted Deshaun Watson in a way. We do not doubt Trevor Lawrence because of the time, the position. College quarterbacks are going to be doubted. Black mobile college quarterbacks are going to be doubted.
They took him with the 12th pick in that draft, and I'll remind everyone, I just said Patrick Mahomes, but he did have a fairly big lead first half AFC divisional round or championship game last year over Patrick Mahomes. He's great.
There were questions, and not just because of where he was drafted.
Trubisky was drafted ahead of him, though, is my point.
Yeah. Second overall, I believe Mitchell Trubisky was. Dabo Swinney was saying, if you pass on this guy, you're passing on Michael Jordan, and we all laughed. Every single one of us, because those are insane expectations. Now, while the NFL comp might not be Deshaun Watson for Michael Jordan, might be Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson is top 5 at his position right now. Never have they become available. Now, the actual haul that Houston can get can be limited. Yeah, I would say this guy's positioning himself to receive in exchange for his services the biggest trade package ever. But with this no trade clause, he's actually hurting the Texans by doing that, because he can just say, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go to one or two teams. And you have to pick the best package from those two teams as opposed to 31 other NFL teams. So
it's real power.
It's amazing. It's the LeBron power that we haven't seen flexed in the NFL.
But if one of those two teams is the Dolphins, you can get a nice haul back for Deshaun Watson.
That's fine.
Yes.
And one of the things I want to talk about here, though, is the analysis of what it is that you're getting, because I feel like, because Stugotz, Mina Kimes has been saying this forever, all right? And it's in her Twitter profile. Wins are not a quarterback stat. And you were just saying, as if this is Deshaun Watson's doing, that he was up in the playoffs. You said 17 points. They were up 24-0 against the Chiefs. And it wasn't him. It was them that were up. And it wasn't him that lost that game. It was them that lost that game. But he was very close. And then this year happened. Wins are not a quarterback stat. This year happened. And I think we all threw our hands up and said, look, we know Deshaun's good. You can't trade DeAndre Hopkins and expect him to be as good. And here, this is, Chris, if you're thinking about him in a Dolphins uniform, Stugotz, if you're thinking about him in a Jets uniform.
Every second of every day.
What I'm about to read to you, okay, is why this person knows, while flexing the LeBron power, hey, I'm great, put me somewhere and watch, because I just got torpedoed by our disorganization of an organization. Deshaun Watson, according to Pro Football Focus, when throwing 10 or more yards downfield this season, without any of those skill guys, 61% completion rate, that's first in the league. 132.7 passer rating, that's first in the league. Yards per attempt, 13.2, that's second in the league. With nobody, this dude was better than everybody throwing the ball down the field. With nobody. But he lost. And wins are not a quarterback stat. And now he's available, and he's got real LeBron power. He is young. 20 teams in the league would want him. But Mike is right when he says, no, man, that no trade clause. Yet another example of an organization being a disorganization. Look at what you just did. You alienated a superstar in his prime, and you gave him the clause that allows him to bleep you. You gave him the clause. In that sport, the football player never has the power. Only at that position does he ever have the power. And even then, Aaron Rodgers is watching last year as they trade for his or they draft his replacement. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the power. Deshaun Watson just flexed on that organization betraying him. He just flexed. He can wreck that organization from here by just telling the Dolphins, nah, you're where, or the Jets, nah, you're where I want to go. At the very end, the thing I'm going to do is leave the whole thing smoldering behind me. What do I care what they get? I asked them to get me a new GM. I asked them to get me a new coach. I asked them after that summer in a home I've lived in with my single mom because Warwick Dunn bought me a home. After that summer, I asked my organization, after trading DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that summer in the streets. I'm not talking about what they did to him. He didn't complain until he went to them and said, hey, how about I have some input on coach, on leadership, on general manager, so I don't have to do this shit again this season where I'm throwing the ball great all over the place and I keep losing because you people don't know what you're doing. He can now torch that organization by simply refusing to be traded anywhere but one place.
It was clear he was unhappy with the moving of DeAndre Hopkins, but he was a good soldier. And he signed that extension, by the way, an extension that his agent and he maximized his dollar. Also, along with that extension, got this no-trade clause to eventually flex a I imagine this was a plan all along. And yeah, you're right. He can essentially, if Deshaun Watson wants to make this even more of a mess for the Houston Texans, he could say, I want to go to one team.
Yep.
Because if I'm Deshaun Watson and I have my mind set on, say, Miami, I want that team to be strong. I don't want them to give
No,
up.
he's got all the power.
I don't want them to give up anything really valuable.
A football player never has this much power. Never.
But they had to know what the Texans did, because if you're trying to impress Deshaun Watson, you don't do it with a 65-year-old first-time head coach. I mean,
no, Schefter says it was weeks ago that he made the request.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So they must have known it doesn't matter who we hire here. We're going to get rid of this guy because they hired a coach and Deshaun Watson still wants that. That's not the way to impress Deshaun Watson.
The part of this, to me, that is most interesting, okay? That's the disposable sport. The bodies are disposable. What just happened, reported by Adam Schefter to the Texans organization, is the power of a football player who has realized the power of his contract, his leverage, and how mad he is at his organization for betraying him. And so what has just happened in real time as you're listening to this is a football player has finally gotten to the place where a trade request ain't a request. He's got a contract that pays him a lot of money. It ain't requesting. You will send me where I want to go, and if you're fortunate, I'll give you 2 places so you can have them bidding against each other. But if you're not, I want to go to blank. And I don't care where it leaves me with your fans in Houston, in the middle of Texas, Stugotz, where the University of Texas football team during the summer is still told to go out there and sing that song with racism in it because the white boosters in the stands want to keep hearing their damn songs. After that summer, that black quarterback, doubted for all the corrosive reasons that black quarterbacks have been doubted in that league throughout time, as the sport evolves, that black quarterback just made the LeBron move in that sport where guys are never allowed that power because those contracts and those salary caps are restrictive. Those drafts are restrictive. It's not free market. It's not capitalism. It's not even basketball where James Dolan can have his franchise be worth $5 billion and still has clamps and controls that keep him from his incompetence, never losing actual money no matter how bad he is. In football, they never have this power. The player never has this power.
Yep. You said 20 teams. I would say every team but Kansas City should be interested in Deshaun Watson. Every single team, with the exception of the Chiefs, should be in on Deshaun Watson. I'm including the Seahawks. I'm including the Cardinals. I'm including the Chargers. I'm including all these teams because that's how good he is. You already know he's good. You're hoping on other guys. Like, I'm not certain. Would you rather have Deshaun Watson than Russell Wilson? Because I would.
Here's the thing. I don't want to actually do this with you where we're doing the quarterback rankings of who I'd rather have or who should trade him or transaction sports radio. This is what I want to do with you. Football Outsiders, Aaron Schatz, our expert, says, Watson, you love the transactions, right? You love the transactions. Watson probably has more projected future value than any quarterback to ever change teams in NFL history. And you guys have been saying he's going to demand a haul. Not if he's intent on wrecking that organization. He's not. We'll see, right? We'll see. But if there's not 18 teams competing, if it's just 2 and 2 because he feels like it, he has. You show me where he doesn't have power. He's not going back to that organization. They've moved on. They just chose the coach that's moving on. They've alienated a star in his prime at the most important position. It's over in Houston. There is no going back, no turning back from that. You guys show me where Watson's power gets pierced. Give me a pinprick of piercing power anywhere. Where?
Texans could rise up and say, we don't care where you want to go. We're not going to trade you. You're under contract. And then Deshaun Watson ends up losing money, and inevitably he'll get moved, but he would have to suffer some financial loss if the Texans truly want to play hardball.
And we'll see if they do, because they might have to. You can't be so mismanaged that you give away that piece for nothing. Like, you can't be that mismanaged that for DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson, what you get back is crap. It can't be that.
It can be because you're witnessing it. I mean, they got nothing back for DeAndre Hopkins, and if Deshaun Watson wants to, he can make sure they get nothing back.
They're going to get something good for him. They have to.
I imagine to avoid him incurring some financial loss, his agent and the Houston Texans will agree on a larger in scope amount of cities that he'd be willing to go to sort of help the Texans out and help move him along, because if the Texans are like, you're giving us 2 teams, they know they're the only 2 in this mix, and they're not offering us anything, I think there's something that's mutually agreeable between parties. So you might see a list of like 5 teams potentially.
But it might be an agent who ends up doing this, Stugotz. You understand?
Yes,
right?
of course.
An agent might end up making this trade based on just what his client wants. An agent can go to Deshaun and be like, hey, are you okay with this guy being traded away from this team, or do you want to play with him? That's what you're entering here. That's real power brokering here.
Agents have actually been handling a lot of trade negotiations across sports to actually keep it's actually mutually beneficial for the teams and the players too if it goes through the agent, because you have plausible deniability when the media starts pressing you. So that's actually how a lot of trades are happening now.
Let's get it over with. You've been in the pirate costume. I've been talking seriously.
You've been trying to avoid it. I mean,
know, but he wants to do Yargh or Nargh. We're doing the show a little differently today. Forgive us if it's bouncing around at a speed that you're not accustomed to in terms of 10-minute breaks, 15-minute breaks. We're just doing 4 straight hours on Twitch to test this. How's this going, incidentally? How is it going on Twitch?
I think we bored everybody with this segment.
Yeah?
I mean, Barnwell's making Deshaun Watson trade proposals already. He has the Jets giving up the 2nd overall pick, the 23rd overall pick, and a 2022 first-round pick, and they get Deshaun
We've
Watson.
gotten to the place where we bore the audience because we're talking about a quarterback whose value is high in his prime being traded, and the audience doesn't want that?
The word has gotten out, though. People are just hanging on. When are they going to get to Yargh or Nargh?
Okay, and it's not because they want me to get back to talking stocks, because we're going to do that in a second with Tom Haberstroh, but through the sports prism. Let's go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Ahoy, mateys! Welcome to Yargh or Nargh, where it's a complex game with complex rules. It's basically true or false, yeah. You have to say true or false, but Yargh or Nargh, and explain your position on sports topics du jour. Is everybody familiar with the rules of Yargh or Nargh? If not, I be throwing you in Davy Jones's locker.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Yargh.
That was a test and you all passed, because if someone said yes, they'd have to walk the plank. Yargh. Let's get into Yargh or Nargh, shall we?
Are you going to lose your voice here?
The first question of Yargh or Nargh. A transcendent game that's innovative and not at all going to bore you with redundant topics. Yargh or Nargh, mateys. The Texans' hiring of David Culley will be enough to appease Deshaun Watson. Yargh or Nargh?
Nargh. We've covered that, I guess. I guess we're all in agreement here, Nargh.
Had we known that would have been your first question, bro.
I was a bit sad, yeah. I was hanging the jib a little bit when I saw an hour's worth of Deshaun Watson talk. And I was married to me script here, see? Don't worry, I'll pour out some grog, and I'll be an old Jolly Roger. We move on to the second question of Yargh or Nargh.
Nice.
Good timing on that. Completely coincidental.
Really? I thought that all happened.
Totally coincidental. Yeah. Me have to have octopus arms to fire everything off. But now I unleash the Kraken for me hearties. You know what a hearty is, Dan? It's what's going to explode because of all your cholesterol, yeah. It means
I'm drinking a green juice right now.
Oh. Clap of thunder, are ya?
You got your script and your fat joke, and you're making it no matter what.
Aaron Rodgers will think the Packers fix their issues by firing their special teams coach. Stugotz, Yargh or Nargh?
Yargh.
Explain why.
I mean, the special teams coach is the coach you fire when you can't fire anyone else. And listen, it sends a message to the entire organization. You screw up, I'm going to fire you, except if your name is Matt LaFleur, because I can't fire you. But it sends a message, and I like messages.
Dan, Yargh or Nargh?
Nargh.
What?
Explain why.
This is what the segment is?
Or I will throw you into the briny deep.
I didn't know there were explanations. It was weird.
Elaborations? I thought it was just Yargh or Nargh, not Yargh.
Yargh or
I
Nargh,
said
and explain
Nargh.
your position, or I'll make you walk the plank.
He sounded deeply and publicly unhappy in a way that was emotional and unusual for him. He sounded like he was saying goodbye. Now, maybe he has changed after the emotions of the moment. Maybe he's less depressed and he will have perspective after 3 days. But he sounded like a man who was done with the organization because it had betrayed him the way Deshaun Watson has been betrayed in Houston.
Time's up!
Almost
Dano.
the perfect timing. I missed the
Yes.
dismount.
Oh, you're a carouser, this one. Probably too much grog. I think Stugotz won that round.
Yes!
No!
Yargh or
Wait a minute.
Nargh?
Wait a minute.
Yargh.
This is a competition?
Yes.
Yargh or Nargh?
Can I drink tequila since we're pirates and we're narging?
Of course you can! If you have a bottle of rum, I'd like some of that too. Pass it over. Stugotz, Justin Fields is second on your big board. Yargh or Nargh?
Yargh, he is second on my big board. I believe he is. Listen, here's the thing. I want him, and I think he should be number one on everyone's big board because I feel like he's a better athlete. I am not sold on Trevor Lawrence, and so I am more than happy if the Jets land the guy who was number two on most people's quarterback depth charts, but number one on mine. I think he is that good, Justin Fields. How about that?
Oh, Stugotz, you're an old salt, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
You know exactly how to play this game.
I do.
Dan, same question.
I feel like I've got tricked
Yargh
into playing
or
this game.
Nargh?
I didn't want to play this game for 10 years.
Yargh or
Yargh or
Nargh?
Nargh?
Yeah.
What was the question?
Justin Fields is second on your big board. Yargh
Well,
or Nargh?
Is he? Your big board at home, is he?
I don't have a big board.
Then ye be marooned and we move on without ye. Moving on.
Is Justin Fields better than Heisman winner?
Trevor Lawrence?
No, that wasn't the Heisman winner.
Oh,
Devonta Smith?
Yes.
Yes, but we're very clearly talking about quarterbacks. Are you already in the grog?
I've got a tequila bottle open here. I need a... Whittingham, can you get me a little cup from the other room there, please, so I have something to pour this into?
Also,
Thank you.
pass me some booty and doubloons, because I'm a pirate, you see, and I like
Chris,
treasure.
pass me some booty.
Should be called Tequila.
Tequila or Nargh, Dan. Next question. Final one. This one's worth double points. Me daughter's chances of going to pirate school hinge on the economic success of Kodak. Yargh or Nargh?
When are we talking to Haberstroh? Is that next? We're going to talk
Haberstroh will
to...
be joining us in about 15 minutes.
What order do we go in?
Me daughter's chances of going to
Him
pirate
first
school.
or me first? Is it always
I asked you, Dan. Me daughter's chances of going to pirate school hinge on
I'm
the
worried
economic.
in general about the way that you throw money around in these gambling ventures that get risky and dangerous but are adrenaline rushes in a way that seems unsafe for you. And I realize I sound like a parent when I say that, but yes, when you're betting Kodak, Mike, and Wall Street Bets is leading you into the future and you've become addicted over the last 2 days to the stock market, yes, I'm generally worried about you. Wait a minute. He doesn't know how to drink tequila. He just brought me a tiny little cafecito cup.
What is
I
that?
need a better cup
Just
than
drink
that.
it straight out of the
Wait.
out of the bottle, just like a pirate would do. Dan.
Was the question, or is Dan worried about Mike? I don't think that's what you asked.
He's worried
there.
about me daughter Juliet.
Right.
Because of the financial success hinging on Kodak.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fellas. Well, that was an interesting game that we will never play again here on the Batard Show with Stugotz.
It forces you to do all the content carrying, and the whole joke is you being a pirate. And it feels like briny deep is where you ran out of material.
I literally have a whole list of material, and I went through it, I burned through it, and I said no to 3 of the last questions.
Oh, wow, you cut it short, huh?
Tom Haberstroh next.
Kodak's down 12%.
No, damn it!
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
So we wanted to talk about some of this exciting stock stuff going on here with someone in sports, from sports, who knows and can explain how sports is being impacted by the last 2 days of trendy trading all over the place, where the stock market is upside down because some Reddit comment section organizers have managed to attack and make tumble for at least a couple of days the big Wall Street hedge funders that we all like to laugh at. So we'll get to Tom Haberstroh in a second, national NBA insider. You know him from around here for many years, host of the Haberstroh podcast. If you want to learn more about basketball, Tom was at the pioneering front of the analytics of the game, the studying of the game in a way that was more evolved, and he's been with us for years, so many years, that this song is still, after all these years, the highlight of a career that has only soared beyond where it was when he first joined us as just a numbers nerd.
Stats where my internet connects. Load up. You got a regression to the mean of the stat that I check. I ain't a fan, I'm a whiz that I respect, little boy. If you want to shoot mid-range, I'll be critiquing. Effective field goal percentage coefficient. Call Daryl Morey. Be engrossed. Bother at the scene, mean median mode. Got algorithms to encode. Sorry if you didn't know. That I read Zach Lowe. Metrics. But the haters still troll. I love Haberstroh. I love Haberstroh. I love Haberstroh. I love Haberstroh. I'll put that stat in your face.
So before we get to what you've written as a serious journalist for Truehoop.com, can you tell us your perspective as you arrive in the Zoom chat, when you arrive and you see Chris Cote shirtless? Did you have any immediate thoughts? How did you think that we arrived here?
I mean, he's in Miami. I mean, come on. I mean, that's what you got to do. I just don't know what the circumstances.
How's it look?
It looks great. I don't know the circumstances why we're here, but I'm glad to be here.
I don't think it looks great. Do you think his shoulders look feminine?
Well, what did you just do, Chris? Did you just like flex a little bit?
I'm trying to look thinner.
Yeah.
I'm just like sucking. I'm just getting everything real tight, just so everything's like tight up again. You get it? Trying to get some veins going. I don't have veins.
What did you write for True Hoop, Tom? What did you write? Did you write about this, or did you write about it affecting Michael Jordan? What are the specifics of what just came up on True Hoop?
When you say this, do you mean Chris Cody's shirtless body?
Well, he is shirtless because we've been talking about this crazy story. He's gotten into the stock market. He's flexing because he feels strong, because he's gotten in. He's decided to get in on GameStop.
So I was following this GameStop story yesterday and scrolling through Chamath Palihapitiya's Twitter feed, which was just exploding yesterday. And he's a part owner of the Golden State Warriors. He's like a demigod among tech people. He's got like SPACs all over the place. And he's talking about how he's going to like end this hedge fund. And I'm looking at the thumbnail photo of this hedge fund that he has like waged war against. And it's a familiar face. It's Gabe Plotkin, the minority owner of the Charlotte Hornets, who just bought a big chunk of Michael Jordan's business with the Charlotte Hornets a year ago. And it didn't get any buzz about a year ago when this happened. It was Michael Jordan has sold
you do that on purpose?
Undisclosed amount to these two guys.
It's a buzz joke and a fine for not listening.
I mean, he just thundered through. Haberstroh, you want to develop some chemistry with the show? You got so interested in the weeds of these owners and minority owners fighting over dollars that you didn't hear Mike trying to get in there with a joke.
The buzz, I mean, I'm pretty proud of the pun with Buzz and the Hornets there. So I probably should get that again. So I noticed this dude, and I was like, I know that face, and I look into it, and I realize that Michael Jordan is potentially exposed to this mess because Michael Jordan opened up a size of his company, his Hornet stake, to these guys who are taking a bath, who are absolutely getting crushed in the hedge fund business right now. So Gabe Plotkin, who is the head of Melvin Capital, who came from Stephen Cohen's SAC Capital that was shuttered in 2013 or in the early 2000s because of insider trading allegations. This guy is now in the business with NBA owners, and not only any NBA owner, it's Michael Jordan. So how much is Michael Jordan exposed to the hedge fund losses that we're seeing on Wall Street? I don't know. But I talked to one hedge fund manager yesterday over the phone who said the losses are catastrophic here. And if Michael Jordan wanted to sell to these guys for a $1.5 billion stake in the Charlotte Hornets, I don't think they have the money now.
So explain to us what it is that happened yesterday that you arrived at the waged war. Why is there a war being waged? Not the macro throughout America against the hedge fund guys. Why is this particular war being waged where this guy is going after the minority owner of the Charlotte Buzz, as you like to call them?
Gabe Plotkin, as one financial sector insider, I don't know how I just stumbled that out of my mouth, but there's a hedge fund manager called Gabe Plotkin the Luka Doncic of hedge fund managers. Okay. He is the wonder kid. He is the golden boy, as he told me, of this world. And they think a lot of people like Chamath think it's an unfair world that these hedge fund managers who are controlling billions and billions of dollars are pinching the market and basically rigging the game so that they enjoy huge profits. And people like Mark Cuban have come out yesterday siding with Chamath against the Charlotte Hornets part owner, and saying, this is great. I love what Wall Street Bets is doing. And so you have Michael Jordan in one corner with the hedge fund guys, and then you have on the other side is Mark Cuban, Chamath, and Haralabos Voulgaris, who was an NBA bettor, now the head of quant at the Dallas Mavericks, who's like, when Chamath announced that he was going to run for governor yesterday, Bob Voulgaris tweeted out to all his followers, I'm going to California because Chamath is running for governor. So all these NBA stakeholders are in this battle because of this idea that hedge fund managers are running a rigged game and it's not fair. And finally, the everyman gets to have a say and have power. And this is a market correction. Like, people are saying they're getting attacked. These hedge fund managers are getting attacked. I think the more accurate way to portray this is that hedge fund managers have been attacking the everyman for so long, and now people think, all right, now it's a taste of your own medicine.
Well, Tom, something you brought up there, though, that is fascinating to me is some of the names that you're talking about, whether it's Voulgaris or Mark Cuban. These are guys who are visionaries ahead of the game in business for a long time. The fact that they're on one side and that Michael Jordan's in bed with the guys who, I guess, made their money less honestly, according to them. I like the other team better than I like the one that Michael Jordan's on.
You like the Cuban team.
I like
yes.
I don't know whether it's sound business or not, but the idea that they don't like that Michael Jordan has gotten into bed with these hedge fund managers.
No, but Plotkin,
it's a dirty term.
What you don't like is Plotkin has been bullying around people for many, many years to make himself a lot of money, and now he's getting his comeuppings.
Okay, I'm going. How do you think that's spelled?
I have no idea.
Go ahead and spell that. Let's see how you think.
Comeuppings? Oh, boy.
Comeuppance.
It's comeuppance.
Yeah. Comeuppance, whatever.
Oh, my God.
Tomato.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Tomato, potato.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd ask me how to spell Plotkin.
Haberstroh, the part that I find cool about what it is that you're saying, and I don't know how real or enduring this is, what you're talking about, but the idea that Michael Jordan would get into business with the wrong people who would gain their money in a way that feels a little less earned than everyone else, because these hedge fund characters who have taken over some of these spots in sports are sort of the bare naked greed of, how do I get in the game? How do I get these big toys? I'm a billionaire. I'm new money. How do I get to play with the big boys? And now Cuban's part of the old guard, and Voulgaris is somebody who comes from like the gambling webs of understanding how to stay ahead of the math. So when those two guys are coming for you and saying you kind of deserve the game of this in public, hey, let's fight over dollars now. Let's see what you got. Michael Jordan, we like our chances.
Yeah, like Mark Cuban was on CNBC this morning. Like when CNBC is doing a call of someone who is going to be well-versed on this subject, they go straight to the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, the face of Shark Tank investing. And Mark Cuban just plainly said, like, yeah, this is all very scary. Like the feds probably should be regulating this a lot more, is that these hedge fund managers have a black box. Like you can't look up what their positions are. Like an ETF or a mutual fund, a stock, like you can look up these stocks and the numbers underneath them and decide whether you want to invest in them. But these hedge funds are black boxes. And so they make these positions on companies like GameStop where they're highly leveraged and they're hoping that GameStop essentially goes out of business. You're making a short. You're saying that this stock will fall. And it seems like a very dirty game. And Mark Cuban is sitting there on CNBC as one of the loudest voices in the room and saying, yeah, I got my portfolio out of this business because I'm scared. Like it is scary what's happening on the stock market right now. And this is a battle that is being played on CNBC, but it is very much an NBA story.
How else?
Well, Chamath is he's a guy who is part of that Warriors investment group, which is a private equity tech VC capital investment group. And if they're hemorrhaging money because there's no one in Chase Center, some of these players that we're talking about might become louder voices in the room or have larger stakes. And like let's say Michael Jordan, okay, if he's exposed to these losses, one thing that's unanswerable right now is how much business does he have with these guys? Does he have money with Melvin Capital? Does Michael Jordan have money in D1 Capital, who, as far as I can tell, the latest is that they're down 20% in 3 weeks. This hedge fund is down 20%. These are his business partners. And if they just sign Gordon Hayward to this huge contract, what happens to the Charlotte Hornets going forward? We just don't know. It's very early.
What are you guys doing? What are you?
Mike's getting a little nervous. He's sweating. The kitchen's getting a little hot.
I am losing it right now.
Sell.
No, don't sell. That's what they want you to do. These are scare tactics. The hedge guys are going to sell high. We all know this. We're seasoned vets. We just have to stick together and hold on. Diamond hands, baby. Diamond hands.
Daryl Morey just tweeted out. Morey just tweeted out, fun story until GameStop hits zero.
Yeah. Well, Daryl Morey's in on all the hedge funds.
There's something there too. Daryl Morey is the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers. The CEO right now of AMC is the CEO of the 76ers back when Sam Hinkie came aboard.
So
it's all small circles here. Yeah. Like the NBA is very much in the middle of this GameStop story, and I was shocked to see like all this frenzy was happening yesterday and no one was talking about, like, at the very center of this is Michael Jordan. Like he's in business partners with Melvin Capital.
You heard Tom. Trust the process and just sell in April.
Mike, I want to get at whether Michael Jordan, is Tom Haberstroh coming onto the pirate ship and alleging, screaming, because Tom Haberstroh is one of the Pirates. He's been with us for a long time, even though he's not officially a Pirate, and he's an NBA insider, and he's the host of the Haberstroh podcast, but we love having him around our stuff for reasons like this. He's shouting a story no one else is kind of noticing, except in these these shadowy nether regions of the internet where these people fight over Bitcoin.
It's a tricky story that not many people understand.
No, it's a complicated story, but are you getting on the pirate ship and you saying, hey, Michael Jordan's wealth is under siege here? You don't know that, but you're speaking in alarmist tones that is making the audience, and me actually, maybe not the audience, but me. Wait a minute, is Tom saying that Michael's in trouble here? Like in real trouble with the money that he's made in his life because he's overly leveraged with these guys who just wreak money all the time, but wreak new money.
Right. Like we don't know. What we do know is that the Hornets announced in September of 2019, so give or take 16 months ago, that they were selling, Michael Jordan was selling a stake of the Charlotte Hornets to these two Wall Street investors. And there was like 2 paragraphs, a personal statement from Michael Jordan saying like how much he really likes Gabe and Dan, as he described them, and that they were industry leaders and that they were great entrepreneurs and that they were leaders in the tech space, which I don't really understand how that is. Like I would love to hear what Chamath would say about, these hedge fund guys being leaders in the tech space. And so they're obviously have very close business ties. The question is, like, how deep do those business ties go? And we just don't know. Like, the Hornets did not disclose whether it's a 30% chunk that he sold or a 10% chunk. But one thing that's interesting is in the statement that Michael Jordan made announcing the partnership with these hedge funds is, hey, they want to keep this team in the Carolinas too. They've committed to keeping this team in the Carolinas too. The only way that Michael Jordan is saying that is to reassure the audience that, like, when or if this team buys me out, they want to keep it here, which is very interesting.
We need to stop worrying about Michael Jordan and start worrying about Michael Ruiz at this point, because holy shit. Okay, buy the dips, people. Hold on. A lot of people are getting scared right now. It's unsettled, but look, we didn't get this far by not holding the line. Hold the line.
Mike,
Diamond,
is this a bid or not? This is my life you're messing with right here.
We got a lot of red. All right. We got into the 7-digit territory, okay?
Getting crushed.
Little uncomfortable, but this
Haberstroh.
is what they want.
I'm sweating.
Dangerous
I'm sweating.
game.
This is what
I
they
told
want.
you.
It's Robin Hood. Robin Hood effed us.
Yeah.
Haberstroh, did you just come on to this podcast and after our entire show of Mike Ryan and Chris literally losing his shirt, did you just tell us that Mike and Chris are holding on to the rope and the people who are on the other side of the rope that they're going against are Michael Jordan money and the Michael Jordan hedge fund money that is going to bury them now because they've invested in GameStop and Michael Jordan has invested in these hedge fund guys and these hedge fund guys have invested in him? Are Michael and Chris now in the game to lose because they're playing Michael Jordan?
Well, which side do you want to be on, right? Is on one side you have the tech giants, Silicon Valley, and on the other side you have Wall Street. You have the billions crew.
I want to be
Which
on Jordan's
do you wanna
side.
be on?
Yeah, Michael.
Because like
Yep.
Chamath, Haralabos Vulgaris, Mark Cuban, they're on one side is saying like, yeah, invest in Bitcoin. Like this whole frenzy on the stock market needs to be like checked a little bit more. Like if Melvin Capital goes under or if they take huge losses, I think Chamath said on the air yesterday, so what? They don't get their summer house in the Hamptons. Like, so what? It's like if these hedge funds lose billions of dollars, that's capitalism. That's what the market is supposed to do.
Can you explain to the audience and to me the backstory of the gold standard of this world and why it is Mike Ryan should feel safe and Chris should feel safe because they're on his side?
Like Chamath and the tech bros and Elon Musk.
The history, yes, the history. You're saying a name, and I'm asking you to give the resume of how it is that person arrived at Golden Boy of this world, where the people in his army are the Cubans and the Vulgarises, because this guy is viewed as the standard. What is happening here that allows you to feel that he's going to win this fight?
Well, I don't know that he's going to win this fight. I don't know enough about the business on either side to say, oh, that's that, side with them. It's just when you look at Chamath Palihapitiya, his business has been Facebook originally, and then he came out of Facebook and became Social Capital CEO, a VC firm, and became a tech giant, billionaire. And making bets on companies. He has 5 SPACs or like more than 5 SPACs that he's heading up. These are all very large terms. Basically, this guy is a very big deal in the tech space. And so when he tweets out yesterday, I'm going all in on GameStop, and here's a screen grab, that stock went skyrocketing just by him jumping in the marketplace and saying, I'm buying. And, it's crazy to think that like a tweet from Elon Musk can cause Etsy stock to skyrocket because there's like a scarf or something that was from Etsy that Elon Musk tweeted out, and suddenly people are trying to buy Etsy. Like these players have so much power. And so on the other side, hedge fund managers have so much power. But I think Chamath, those people on the tech side, Silicon Valley money, the Joe Lacobs of the world who own the Golden State Warriors are saying, our team is going to win this.
We need him to put his name behind AMC stat.
Yeah.
Like, I need a tweet in the next, minute.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, what's the latest here? So I haven't checked the stock price.
$8.70.
GameStop is down 14% right now.
Oh, it's okay. Elon will save us. He'll give us a life raft if we float off, and then he'll reveal to the world that he's the Antichrist. It's all good. It's all going to plan.
In the time it took me to say that sentence, it went from 14% to 17%.
I'm getting a little scared.
Tom, good talking to you. Anything from your Truehoop story? Anything else we need to know before you get out of here? Give the audience as much as they can so they don't have to actually seek out the article.
Yeah, it's at truehoop.com, and the whole winding road of how the NBA billionaires are at the center of this story, and Michael Jordan is at the center of it all. This does feel like a Billions episode, so go read it at truehoop.com. Where this goes from here, I don't think anybody knows, but check it out, truehoop.com.
Basketball question, real quick. How good is Bradley Beal, and why should the Heat trade for him?
I mean, he's Ray Allen 2.0.
That sounds good.
Wow. Yeah.
How about Bam Adebayo? His trajectory right now is trending 4 years in. He looks numerically like Greek Freak. The ceiling isn't that high, is it?
I think it is MVP ceiling. I mean, if he's already all NBA caliber now, he just keeps developing at this rate. Like, why not MVP? I mean, people said that about Giannis Antetokounmpo 2 years in. Like, really? MVP? And sure enough, he's back-to-back MVPs.
We're rallying. I just refreshed, and I just made $2,000. Come on, baby. Buy the dips. Buy the dips.
AMC is down 56%.
It's all right. I was down at 10. Now I'm back up to 8. Come on, baby.
Tom, thank you for being on with us. Always appreciated. He's a national NBA insider, host of the Haberstroh podcast. Thank you for being with us, Tom. Chris, shirtless Chris, who has lost his shirt in the stock market today.
I smell terrible right now. I'm sweating. This is not a pretty sight right now.
You were telling us, though, earlier that you have a professional late-night snacking tip, and I didn't hear what it actually was. I think of Stugotz as our authority in the late-night snacking department, peanut M&Ms and ice cream after he's taken strolls.
Yeah, I do those things just to stay awake at this age.
What are yours, Chris? What's your pro snacking, late night snacking?
They are not at all a byproduct of you being high.
Tip, not at all.
My pro tip, my prep, it is listen, my kitchen is near my master bedroom, so it's an adjustment I've had to make in my late night snacking where my wife, I always feel like she can hear everything I'm doing. So I wanted to have late last night a bowl of cereal, and I was like, God, those Frosted Flakes falling into the bowl, that's going to be so loud, she's going to hear it. So what I did was I poured the milk into the bowl first.
How do you play?
And then you pour the cereal onto the milk. Therefore, no loud noises, no cereal landing onto that loud bowl. Because, those things are louder late at night, right? Like, at midnight, pouring a bowl of cereal into a bowl, pouring cereal into a bowl, much louder than it is at 9 a.m.
Something that goes unnoticed.
That's the pro tip.
Yeah, something that goes unnoticed in the morning, but certainly does not as you get later into the evening. You are right about that. But the cereal's not as good when you go milk first, cereal second. You notice that, right?
You do sacrifice a little quality, but it's worth it that the wife is not waking up like, oh, another late night bowl of cereal, huh? And that's another thing. I like to completely get rid of all the evidence. Like, I wash out the bowl, I wash the spoon, it goes back. She doesn't need to wake up and see a bowl of cereal in the bowl. All the evidence disappears.
How much secret eating do you do, Chris?
Seeding, a lot of it, man. Not as much. I'm trying in the new year to, do less of it. The stock market yesterday, last night was a bad night. You don't want to know the stuff I ate last night because I went to sleep, I was down $1,000. I woke up, I was up $1,400, and now I'm back. You don't want to know where I'm at right now.
Who is handling the polls today? Because I want to ask those two questions via poll at Le Batard Show. Does cereal taste less good if you pour the cereal in after the milk? And I also want to ask the question via poll, do you quietly pour your cereal at midnight because you don't want your wife to know that you're eating?
Everything's dangerous after midnight when you're married.
What is it? Yay or Yargh? Or what? Yargh or Nargh? What is it? Which one?
Yeah, I mean, quit with that kitty shit right now. Can't you see I got some real life problems?
What? That was interesting what Haberstroh said.
I didn't understand a single word of it.
We should get Beal.
You guys weren't interested in Michael Jordan?
Of course I'm interested in it, Dan. Are you not seeing what's on my face right now?
So many red numbers on my screen right now.
Everywhere.
It's okay.
What is happening right now? What is happening?
AMC is worth nothing.
I'm ejecting, Mike.
No, don't. It's rallying. It's rallying, Chris. The rally's already started.
Chris, just
hit refresh. Do not bail. Do not bail. Hold the line. Diamond strong hands.
Can I just downsize?
No! Hold on to all of it. And buy the dips. Buy more. If you can, there's all sorts of restrictions.
I need to know if this is a bit.
Chris,
you realize this is my life, Mike.
Do you guys realize that you right now are in the computer in the Michael Jordan meme where he's saying, and then I took that personally. Like, you guys are actually going against Michael Jordan for money.
And
That's
Michael Jordan's going up against Elon. We all know who's behind this, okay? We're going to be fine. Hold the line.
Maybe how much money we lost today, it's good content we're giving, so maybe we can be compensated for it from somebody.
Yeah, we're not getting
I'm
paid
losing a lot of money today.
I lost a lot.
Well, you guys shouldn't be using your severance on this. This seems irresponsible.
Shut up, Dan. By the end of the day, we're all going to be laughing with beachfront property on the moon.
Dude, if I get close to even, I am selling everything.
Oh, no.
It's all gone.
No!
You've lost him,
No!
Mike. He's not on your team anymore.
I mean, you hipster. Honestly, you just come in, you see a passing fad, and you're not a lifer. Where were you on Monday, huh? Where were you? I've known you since you were yay high on Monday, okay? This is all about the G6. 2 weeks from now, we're going to be laughing after halftime of the weekend's performance. He's going to fly back with us on our G6. You watch.
You know what? You're right. 100 more AMC. Let's
go! Let's go to Jupiter!
Chris, you were also saying because food is your wheelhouse, if it's not cereal we're talking about. I didn't understand what you were saying. I think we might need to talk to your wife here at some point, because what happened with your grocery list? You have food-related subject matter every time we take a break around here. What happened? What were you saying happened with your grocery list?
Well, I feel like I can speak to a lot of people here. I'm terrible at tackling a grocery list efficiently. Like, if it's milk, eggs, all 20 things on a list. I'll walk into the dairy section and I'll grab milk, and then I'll go back to the produce section, and then I'll realize, I forgot the cheese, so I got to go all the way back to the dairy section. And then when you can nail a shopping list efficiently, it feels great, and I never do it. Stugotz, I feel like you can relate to this.
Well, I know what you're saying, because you're not going in with a good plan, so you're not realizing that the cheese is near the milk and that certain things. So you constantly have to go back and forth. But when you nail it with no breaks on a Sunday stroll through Publix, and you get it all right, you don't have to go back to the aisle for anything else. It is one of the most underrated feelings in the history of feelings. You are right.
I think the answer to this problem is you need one of these lists, and my wife recently got them. It's a list that breaks down the sections of a grocery store.
Yes.
So there's a grocery store, there's the dairy section, you list all your stuff there. Do that. If you are doing a list, just 23 things listed without them organized, you're doing it wrong.
Right, because you're putting 1 through 23 in no particular order, and I'm going from aisle to aisle, bouncing around, and it becomes a pain in the ass. So you're right. If the wife could maybe categorize these, and then I'm always calling her, asking her where this is, where that is, and then I just end up buying what I want, because I usually walk in there and I'm pretty stoned,
Just get a smart fridge, guys. Get a smart fridge. I have an app where I can just look inside my fridge when I'm at the supermarket. You don't have one of those?
No.
All right, I got some stock advice for you.
Oh, Jesus.
Before we get out of here for the day, before we finish up, again, we're not going to be on tomorrow. You will be able to get Stupidity. You will be able to get part 4 of South Beach Sessions with John Skipper. That may be 5 parts. Chris, where are we? Mike, where are we on the idea that possibly the John Skipper interview, yes or no, it's going to be Yargh or Nargh, Chris? It's going to be 5 parts or 4?
5 parts, Dano.
All right, so 5 parts.
You may need to get in early on our IPO at Meadowlark.
The 4th part is going to go out tomorrow, and Mystery Crate as well with Goat Piss Mike. But I want to get out here on a note that we did not address today, and it is a societal note. It is a serious social justice topic. So many of you who are tired with your sports and your hijinks of having the serious stuff and don't want us to do that anymore, or want us to just give ourselves over to the wacky laughter that never addresses the stuff in sports that makes you deeply uncomfortable, then you can go now, and you should go now. You can get that stuff tomorrow, because I'm about to talk about ex-Seattle Seahawks offensive tackle Chad Wheeler and how he was charged with domestic violence and was arrested.
All right, see you later.
Yeah, Stugotz is leaving for the day. Billy is long gone, and I'm just going to read to you from this story because I think it deserves attention as football tries to gloss over this stuff. I think we just recently had an anniversary on the Ray Rice stuff, didn't we? It was in our...
I don't really keep it in my calendar.
No, but I thought I read...
Celebrating these things?
No, I didn't. Weren't you leaving? Didn't you say you were leaving? Like,
Yeah,
what
it takes
happened?
a second to shut the
but you were
computer
going to
off.
leave. You were going to leave, and then you came back in just to say we celebrate these things. Yes, Stugotz, I celebrate the Ray Rice video.
Yeah. You want to come over here? I need to pick your brain on something.
I believe that the
Loans.
Ray Rice situation was something that happened during our radio show when we were on in the afternoon and was in real time the worst of the domestic violence situations we've ever seen in sports, because it had accompanying video. And while it didn't rise, obviously, to what happened with O.J. Simpson or Ray Carruth, it's one of the few times that we've had to be faced with what domestic violence looks like in sports, as sports is replete, the Hall of Fame and everything else. So your daily... your huddles all over the place, it's replete with domestic violence. Now, this isn't to say it's just in sports. This isn't to say that it's the majority of sports. Just like in society, sports has many bad apples, and the grand majority of men in sports probably are not beating their partners. But when something like what I'm about to read to you happens, and you have the photographic proof that, you know, you've got a guy right now fighting in UFC, Hardy, who was what is his name, Chris Winningham? I'm forgetting that guy's name. Is it Greg Hardy? The guy from the Charlotte Panthers who bounced around, Dallas Cowboys.
Carolina.
Carolina Panthers. And he ends up in UFC fighting for a living. Violence for a living, as opposed to the violence he was doing for a living, because the details are so stark on how he abused a woman, throwing her on a bed of guns, that he was too hot for even the NFL. So this is the story out of Seattle. I'm just going to leave you with the details of this, and I'm going to tell you that the black woman in America, when it comes to violence, is someone who has experienced much too much of it and is stronger than we deserve, because the history of black women being beaten in this country is awful and offensive. And Chad Wheeler was formally charged Wednesday following his arrest on suspicion of felony assault domestic violence. The King County Prosecutor's Office filed criminal charges of first-degree domestic violence assault, domestic violence, unlawful imprisonment, and resisting arrest against Wheeler. A spokesperson with the office told ESPN he is accused of twice choking his girlfriend until she lost consciousness. The details in this story, where he's surprised that she's still living, and he says, like eating up, I think, from a bowl of cereal, looks up and says, "Oh, you're still alive." He wanted her. He outweighs her by like 200 pounds. And the whole thing started because he wanted her to bow to him, and she would not bow to him. And now you have all over the internet the photos of this beautiful woman, and you can see just how beaten she was. Her arm was broken. The whole thing felt cruel, inhumane, cold in unspeakable ways, scary to be outweighed by 200 pounds. A football player, like, honestly, Wheeler is barely a professional football player. He only played like 66 snaps or something ridiculous this year, but he's a backup tackle, or he was. I'm assuming the Seahawks will get rid of him, even though they've had, if they haven't already gotten rid of him, this crime, even as an allegation and not a conviction, this crime, you cannot survive it if you're a backup offensive lineman. The details on this, even though they're just allegations and not a conviction yet. But in the middle of that story that I was reading, and I couldn't help but think, and I will again say on the front end, there is no way to arrive well when you see those photos at compassion for a man 200 pounds heavier than that woman, scaring her to within an inch of her life, where he's flippantly saying, while eating cereal, allegedly, as she walks across the house all bloodied with a broken arm, "Oh, you're still alive? I'm surprised you're still alive." In the middle of that story, I saw some details about Wheeler and bipolar stuff. and it just made me wonder about what happens inside the head of someone who plays that sport for a living in the violence when the brain chemistry is altered and a phrase like bipolar is thrown around. And you can't find an excuse for this man because there is only one victim, and it is the girlfriend that he was beating this way to within inches of her life. But when I read bipolar, I'm like, what happened? What's the darkness happening in that man's head? Like, what's happening inside there? Is he there? Is he himself? Would she recognize him, or is he having a bipolar episode? Is this, Barrett Robbins is still out here getting arrested, Mike. He goes drinking the week before the Super Bowl. None of us have any way to deal with it. The Raiders locker room rips him up and down because the most important thing in football is to be accountable to the man next to you. And he went on he had a psychotic break of some sort and still deals with it all the time. And I'm always reading about Barrett Robbins, like found in front of some 7-Eleven at the bottom of the depths of rock bottom or Delonte West, because they can't get control of this bipolar brain chemistry stuff.
A bit of hope, though, because these are the growing pains in bringing more attention to these things. I know Seahawks fans that have never heard of this player. This kind of stuff is happening throughout the nation. Stories that you'll never hear, stories that you'll never think about, women dying from this type of violence, mental illness playing a factor. Sometimes you just have people that are just pure evil right now. Anytime I get sad because we start focusing on something that maybe 10 years ago we wouldn't consider, who knows if a football player like Wheeler, if we even know about this, if he faces any sort of suspension or punishment, let alone being cut the way that he was hours after this became public. Anytime I get sad about that stuff, I realize we've come a long way. And even though it's darkness and holding a mirror straight up to our faces and we don't like what we see, we're getting better at addressing them. This is not something that we would have ever discussed. We would have never discussed it. You had to have a certain level of fame in order to have the likes of a Dan Le Batard talking about you on the national show. So I do think that we're getting better, but we very clearly have a long ways to go.
Well, beyond that, though, the question that I would have for the victim in this case, if she indeed loves him because this brain chemistry stuff can be complicated, was he there? Was the man that you love inside of there? Or is this a psychotic break that happens when you're bipolar and the mental illness is so strong that someone who allegedly loves you can sit there and eat cereal or whatever as you walk to the bathroom broken? And was this a constant thing, or does it just make an appearance when one of these episodes is there? And where does the brain chemistry stuff coincide with what he does for a living, and he's banging his head against people? And are they treating it well when in that sport it's not talk about this stuff with your teammates? Hey, I'm dark. I'm having suicidal thoughts. I'm thinking about my girlfriend, killing my girlfriend. It's large. Football still isn't equipped for some of this stuff, Mike. The idea of
it's not just football.
No, but nobody is. But I'm saying specifically the gladiators who are in the middle of, hey, we do violence for a living. We are the biggest and the strongest and the fastest. Other men are afraid of us. We are the most violent. On Sundays, what we get is the best of the adrenaline rush because we are more powerful than mere humans.
Yeah, they're ill-equipped for it, but they were far more ill-equipped prior to, as you alluded to, the anniversary of Ray Rice's incident. That did bring about change. And the NFL reflected society, and that growth isn't always going to be perfect, pretty. You got to learn from public mistakes. Heavens knows Roger Goodell made several mistakes there. Made several, not that this is analogous, but he made several public missteps with Colin Kaepernick. And now, even though this head coaching cycle wasn't anything to hang your hat on, the executive level, at the coordinator level, the NFL is blacker than ever because of public shame and embarrassment, and the NFL is putting things in place to help some of these players with mental illness and these types of issues. They're going to get better. I don't know what was going in this person's head. I just found out about this person yesterday. It sounds awful. This is the worst possible first impression to make. I know nothing about him.
Worse for her than for
absolutely
anybody. But if indeed what I'm saying is so, that there's some darkness in this man's head that he can't control, that makes him become someone else that is evil and cruel and awful in a way that gets him shamed this way, there would be some pain there as well. If you're interested in sort of addressing the humanity of both of these people, obviously one of them deserves it more than the other right now. But when I read bipolar in the middle of that, it just made me ask a bunch more questions of What's going on in that dude's head? Does she recognize him? Never mind the pattern of abuse in this country that makes the abused sort of forgive or fear their way into continual abuse. I would just love to know some details there, Mike, in the uncomfortable spots of, like, do you love him? And is that the real him in there? Or is this a recurring theme? Is this something that always happens? Or do you not recognize this man because he's having some sort of psychotic break? It also makes it very difficult to talk about all of this stuff because we don't have the answers to those questions. Regardless, we're not going to be here tomorrow. We're going to do the post-game show here in a second. I hope this Twitch experience was as fun for you as it was for us. We're going to keep playing with the format, keep experimenting.
It's a hell of a dismount from you.
No, I know. I got all serious and stuff. We did social. I just saw the story, and I didn't want the whole show to go by without us discussing something serious just because we like doing some of the silly stuff, too. Awkward ending, admittedly. Post-game show is next. We're going to try and sell you in a mean T-shirt that I really like in the post-game show.